as they are finishing looking over their deck lists. And we will still have Domain versus Azorius Control in the backup. We will come to them if we're still going when we are done. Looks like we're getting some Oracle text on one of Fanchen Yang's cards. Tim just wanted to make sure that he understands exactly how one of the cards works, because it can be a little weird.
I'm guessing it was Likeness Looter? Maybe
Likeness
Vohar, Vodalian, Desecrator.
Yeah, Vohar, Vodalian, Desecrator is one that I don't think many people know, including people who worked on the set. So that would probably be my guess for one of the Oracle text cards.
Could also be, I try to pronounce this card every time, and I always get it right. Matsalantil? Something like that? The Great Door?
Sure.
Just call it the Great Door.
The Great Door. Yeah. Alcazatz I have down. This one,
that one I got down, yeah.
Yeah. As the
what
players.
About Likeness Looter? I think I got that one down too.
What's it? Lute?
Looty?
Looty's Duty? Players are almost finishing, shuffling up here for top four. Been a long weekend of Magic for a lot of these players. Played our Pioneer 10K yesterday, where we saw Matthew Hoey win it all and win a bunch of money. And let's pull up the prize pool for today and see what these players are playing in our 5K. We have $1,200 to first place and an invite to our Player Championship of the year, along with 30 points for our Player of the Year race. You might be wondering, why do we give out points even when that happens? Because Player of the Year goes on. Whoever has the most points at the end of the year does get free entry into all of our events the following year. So that's very exciting. So winning, gets you the championship, but also helps you out there. Second place, $600, 25 points. Third through fourth, $400 and 20 points. Fifth through eighth, 215. Ninth through 16, 100 buckaroos, 10 points back. And 17 through 32nd get $50 and 5 points. The remaining places getting correlating points as the players are mulliganing now. So we're going to jump back into our feature match area.
Yep, and we have Yang, the 8 seed, Tim, the 5 seed. So Tim is going to be on the play. Pretty important for Tim because, this is kind of one of the matchups where Tim wants to get something into play and then start to hold up his permission before Yang can start to develop like a Kaito, maybe set up a Reenact the Crime. One thing that is very, very important about this matchup is Reenact the Crime being an instant, right? Normally, a lot of these kind of go big decks to try to set up a Cruelty of Gix or some sort of Breach the Multiverse, Etali, this kind of stuff. They all have to tap out main phase. But the really cool thing about Yang's deck is if there is a looter in play and 4 mana untapped, Yang at every single point when that happens is always threatening an Atraxa, right? Because if Tim ever taps out and Yang has that 4 mana up, Yang just goes loot, discard Atraxa, reenact, here's my Atraxa. So Tim has to be very, very careful about when he taps out.
It looks like we are going to have things underway with a Restless Anchorage on turn number 1 into the Backwater Sewers for a Surveil.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Yang was on 4 copies of the Surveil land, just playing all 4 copies. Yeah, 4 Sewers. And like you said, the Sewers is really cool because you can just try to high roll on turn 5 with, land 5 and then try to set up a reenact that way.
Yep, so we're going to see Dinnick, and that is actually kind of a huge card in this matchup. You can't target cards in the graveyard, but we're going to see Virtue of Persistence, neg 3, down that Dinnick and get it in the yard.
Oh, I totally forgot about Dinnick when we were talking about all this. Dinnick just shuts off Yang's entire deck, so yeah, good one to get that one out of the way, huh?
Yep. We are going to see Wedding Announcement. Tim Hatch wants the world to know it's wedding time as we pull up some vampires and human tokens. Oh my.
Time for the wedding.
Have you ever thought about the fact that Wedding Announcement from a design standpoint is bringing humans to sacrifice to the wedding as a gift? And that's what's going on as we get closer to the wedding. Anyways, we do have Kaito into play. We're going to make a ninja immediately.
Nope, never thought about that. And I don't think I'm ever going to think about that again.
Well, I want that one for Twitch chat. I want them to know.
Twitch chat, please don't respond to Mason's comments.
Twitch chat, you can't avoid me.
Don't do it. What do we got for Tim here? Tim has a wedding announcement. What do we have a follow-up? I think I saw Tim pick up a bat for the draw step. And lining up 2 mana, I would have to guess it is the bat. Bat's kind of like the fun police. You're trying to do all this cool stuff with Reenact the Crime and Cruelty of Gix, and Bat's just like, nah, dog, not today.
Mm-hmm. Keep Kevin Bat very powerful. As we're going to see this hand revealed here as we have Reenact the Crime, Liliana, Otawara, Lightness Looter, and Gix's Saga. Devin, which of these do you think is going to probably get under the bat?
I think you kind of have to take Reenact the Crime, even though there's no big thing in the hand right now. Well, actually, there technically is, because even though there's no creature, like there's no Atraxa in Yang's hand, what you could do is go draw, discard Cruelty, reenact Cruelty, Cruelty Chapter 3, get back the Unraveler. So it's kind of like this weird roundabout way of doing it. So yeah, taking Reenact makes a lot of sense.
Yep. As we do see the wedding announcement, into turn trigger, get the token.
Drew an Unraveler. So we're going to loot first. And I think that was a Celestus. Discard to the second Unraveler.
Otawara for turn.
Yeah, honestly, with Yang having the... Oh, okay, yeah, because the Celestus gives us a mana next turn. I was going to say Yang wants to draw land 5 for the Cruelty of Gix, but just has the 5th mana source in the form of Celestus. And I think that's the Vohar, right?
Yep, that is Vohar, the card no one knows. It's basically a looter for the sake of chat. Yeah, the Celestus has been the card that surprised me the most, Devin, as we've been watching this game. Just getting some incidental loots has come up a lot, and just jumping from like 3 to 5 mana so quickly.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Yang's deck is very, very good at, like, the reason that Reenact the Crime is so powerful is because it costs 4 mana, right? You get to curve a looter into, loot into turn 4 Reenact the Crime. So, if Yang's deck is set up in such a way where you have a bunch of the 2 mana looters, which we do, 4 Rona, 2 Likeness Looter, 2 Vohar, you can go turn 2 looter, turn 3 Celestus, and that opens up the possibility for turn 4 Crime or Cruelty of Gix. So it just gives you more options for that really fast turn 4 start.
Yep. And it's not totally fair, I guess, to say Vohar does nothing, as it does sometimes interact with, our collecting evidence cards. The sacrificing the Vohar in order to cast an instant with sorcery card is actually pretty big once you have the Conspiracy Unraveler. It allows you to breach the multiverse more and more. So
right.
Vohar definitely actually does some stuff. I just didn't want to talk about it. I wanted to surprise chat.
Because
the production
like you said,
was like no secrets.
Like you said earlier, Unraveler, a card like Omniscience, who, chat might be familiar with a card like that specifies casting cards from your hand for free. Unraveler doesn't have that, so you can cast cards from anywhere, exile, graveyard, wherever, and still, pay the collect evidence for that. So good call.
We are going to see the Cruelty of Gix come down. Tim doesn't know exactly which chapter we're going to start because it does have the read ahead ability.
I think we know which chapter. Most likely. Well, I don't know. It depends, because Yang doesn't really have like anything left over to cast off of the Unraveler. I think I saw Liliana and Arona. So you could go to chapter 2 here and just go tutor for Atraxa, loot away Atraxa. We're going chapter 1. We're just going all the way.
I like chapter 1. Just make the target player have to discard a card. We're going to have to destroy Evil It now. And now they're going to lose that go for the third. Yeah, and Tim,
no, Cruelty only takes creature or planeswalker.
Oh, creature, right? Excuse me. My bad there, yes. But, still pretty strong play there for Fanchen Yang. Obviously could have popped in immediately, but we're going to see Anchorage fired up and an attack for 4. Make a map token due to the Anchorage. Put that into play. And keep attacking. Excuse me, there's a flipped wedding announcement on the board. So this is actually an attack for 7. If we're going to pop the map?
I'm thinking about popping the map post-combat. Spread out the power a little bit. That's a Denic on top. Now, you got to imagine Tim wants to keep that, because that does shut off any, future cruelties or reenact the crimes, and Tim is going to keep that Denic on top. And this is kind of the big turn here. Worth noting, Tim did not cast a spell that turn, so that's going to give us a loot and a life off of the Celestus. Pick up a blue card. Looks like a second Rona.
And, another Cruelty of Gix.
Yeah, that's not bad. So now, I don't think we have life totals updated. I think Fanchen took 7 last turn, right? I think. So probably should be a little bit lower because I'm trying to think if does Fanchen have time to go through the full 3 chapters on Cruelty here. I feel like you probably don't.
I think last turn you could take the risk on doing it in order to hit something from Tim. This time we're just going to cash in immediately for the Unraveler and get that into play. This wedding announcement in play here from Tim is also making things a lot tougher. If it was just getting incidentally hit, we could have more time. But that flip announcement actually doing good work just as an anthem here. And it looks like we're deciding if we want to collect some evidence and maybe put something in like Liliana of the Veil. We'll have to see. Oh, I forgot we have the Virtue over there on the
Virtue, yep. And that's actually perfect because now about the Go for the Throat in Tim's hand. So if you pay 10, play the Virtue, even if the Go for the Throat goes after the Unraveler, you can still just get back the other Unraveler.
I guess the problem is that Dinnick's on top of the deck and Virtue targets.
True. Yep.
But it's still probably pretty good just to get the Virtue in play, and the moment you draw a kill spell, you can get the Dinnick back. Or you can get something back once the Dinnick is gone. Misspoke there.
So the graveyard right now is what? Unraveler, Rona,
and a Dinnick
2
on
lands?
the side. Yeah.
So it's just 2 lands. So we only have 9 evidence in the graveyard, so that's the only spell we can play for free, I think. Well, that's not true. We could Liliana discard a card and then use that as the 10th evidence.
Yeah. That could be a great way to do it here.
If we have another spell we want to cast, but I think there's only 1 card in hand for Yang, and I think it's that other Rona.
Yeah, I kind of like Yang here minusing. Obviously, Yang's the expert with their deck. They're here in the semifinals. But I feel like the minus is kind of nice because it kind of forces the attack from the creatures onto the Liliana. Looks like we're going to tick up. And this might just be discard the Rona, collect evidence 10, put the Virtue in play now that we have the 10 from the Unraveler. Oh, it looks like there was another Conspiracy Unraveler in the yard, so it made it really easy to get that into play. And now it's daytime. We're going to get a little loot action, gain a little life from Yang. Just put that card right in the graveyard. You're going to collect some evidence.
Yeah, weird spot. Like you said, knowing that the Dinnick is on top, it's like a tricky position for Yang because you want to deploy the Virtue, but the Virtue also does nothing in the face of the Dinnick. We see the Go for the Throat going after the Unraveler, and then the Dinnick is going to get cast. So, yeah, this is, it's cool. Yang's got a Virtue in play, but the Virtue's not really going to do that much. And Liliana's going to die this turn because the flipped announcement is going to kill it with the token in the bat.
Yeah, unless it's possible I'm mistaken on Virtue. I'm pretty sure Virtue
definitely targets. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. You're going to see the Liliana go down. Tim's going to gain 2 life from the Deep Cavern Bat. We cast 2 spells there, so it is nighttime.
What doesn't target Mason?
What doesn't target?
What doesn't target? Breach the Multiverse, and that is the card that I believe that Yang picked up there. Now, unfortunate for Yang, not able to cast it because we lost that Unraveler, but we can go ahead and get a little bit of loot ski here, gain life. See what we can find. That was, I think, a land. So land's going to go to the graveyard.
We saw in our top 8 match from Fanchen Yang just how powerful things can be once we get that Breach the Multiverse in play, or in the stack, excuse me. But it's going to take a little bit more mana to get there, and Tim has got a sizable board here.
Yeah, I remember that crazy turn where it was like Breach hit Unraveler, Unraveler, Crime back Breach hit Atraxa, and it was just out of nowhere. All this a million things. Oh yeah, that was the Recruiter hit too.
Yep. We killed in 1 turn essentially.
Yeah.
We are gonna see. Looks like Tim has the Virtue in hand. We saw how much work that did earlier in the tournament against Benjamin Ungar, the top 8. We might just see it get slammed here. Looks like it might also be make a 2/2. Nope, we're just going to do the Virtue.
I was thinking about it a little bit, but yeah, I kind of like just deploying the Virtue. Get a little bit more power in play. You want to close out the game before... You don't want to give Yang a bunch of time.
Yeah, Ardent Veil's Fealty is like an important spell to play in the early game, but at this point, let's just get our counters.
Yeah, the card that Yang was really looking for there was Terror Tide, Terror Tide this turn could have maybe cleaned up everything. Now, if you draw Terror Tide, I think you're just dead on board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Because you gain a life, go to 11. We found a Virtue, so Virtue can maybe buy us a little bit of time, but we don't have the land. Okay, that's gonna do it. Game number 1 to Tim Hatch.
Yep, and it was a very exciting and interesting game. But let's check out what Yang has in the sideboard. We have 3 cut down, 3 duress, 2 negate, 2 glistening dealers, 2 Jace, a Deadly Cover Up, an Urtai, and a Pithy Needle. Devin, what do you like and why?
So from Yang's side of things, you definitely need the cut downs, right? Because we saw how powerful Denick was that game. It can also kill some of the other early creatures, things like Deep Cavern Bat, Rafine, and Deep Cavern Bat is a huge problem in these games, especially when it's taking one of those combo pieces. So definitely wants to go towards the cut downs. Past that, maybe the Urtai to help answer some of the more expensive cards. I don't know if this is a Jace matchup. I'm assuming it's not, but that is something that you may want to consider. But yeah, cut downs, Urtai, maybe the cover up, but that one might be a little bit too slow.
Can totally see that. We're going to see how that plays out here as the players are looking at the open deck list. Let's check out Tim Hatch's Esper deck one more time as well. Take a look at that sideboard and see how things are going here. We have 3 Tishana's Tidebinder, 2 Disdainful Stroke, 2 Knockout Blow, 2 Lore in the Third Path, 2 Cryptic Coat, 1 Alcazat's The Deepest Betrayal, 1 Destroy Evil, 1 Negate, and 1 Cut Down. Devin, what do you like here and why?
So this is kind of weird because Yang's deck is cut down normally not the best against a deck that's trying to put Atraxa into play. But if you look at Yang's deck, there's 4 Rona, 2 Likeness Neuter, and 2 Vohar. And it is, I would assume, pretty important to remove those early looters. So normally you'd want to cut down in a matchup like this, but I don't know that Tim wants to remove them entirely. As far as sideboard cards, you kind of want the Tidebinders because Tidebinder is good against Atraxa triggers and decent against Cruelty of Gix. So wants a couple of those. Disdainful Stroke, Slam Dunk here, counters Breach, counters Cruelty, counters Reenact the Crime. Loran's interesting. It can kill a Cruelty of Gix that doesn't immediately go to Chapter 3, and it can help fight over the Celestus if that's something the game is about. And then Negate and Destroy Evil probably as well. Destroy Evil, it's okay. Again, similarly, if Cruelty goes on Chapter 1, Evil can kill that. But yeah, the Negate's a slam dunk as well.
Awesome. Great. Well, those players are still sideboarding. So let's take a look at some of our upcoming events. So if you want to be playing on the NRG series, you can. We're going to be traveling all across the country this year. And we're starting off in Minneapolis on April 20th and 21st. We have a modern 10K showdown on Saturday and a 5K legacy trial on Sunday. Make sure to come out to those. And then May 11th and May 12th, we're in Indianapolis. We have a 10K Modern Showdown on Saturday. And then Sunday, we have a Team 10K Showdown, Standard, Modern, Pioneer. Showdown events, as a friendly reminder, are our events where you qualify for the end of the year championship. We're playing a 5K Showdown today. Whoever wins this will be our $30,000 PTQ at the end of the year. And we have one more event that we are going to, and that is in June, the 22nd and 23rd. We're going to St. Louis. You're going to have a $10,000 showdown for Pioneer and a $5,000 trial of Modern. And I think that's around the same time, actually, as the Pro Tour is going to be happening, which is pretty exciting because we're going to get to see some exciting cards there with, I believe, the release of Modern Horizons 3 around that time, Devin. So that is exciting for us to see that coming out here very, very soon. There's a lot of events going to go on this year. We can't wait to share them all with you as the time goes on. And let's show really quickly what the players are playing for right now. This is a 5K showdown, going on. So we have that invite, like we talked about, to our end of the year championship, $30,000 on the line. Direct invite to the Pro Tour if you win. We saw Steven Dykeman win that just about a month ago now, which is pretty exciting. He's going to be playing the Pro Tour next week in the Magic Card. Congratulations to him and good luck to him as well. We have all of this dollary dues here on the left, and then the points. The points are what's so important to our NRG grinders, like Benjamin Ungar. The point system lets you get into the end of the year championship. So here on the NRG series, if you don't even, you don't have to win one to make it. That's an easy way to do it, but you can also just have consistent results over the course of the year and make it. And that's something like our next slide shows, which, Connor Mullally did, and he was our player of the year in 2022, made it to our championship, and actually won And you win a token for winning one of these Showdown events as well from Inkling tokens. So that's very exciting to see. We saw this team here take it down about a year and a half ago now this time, make a Goblin Shaman token. That's pretty exciting. We saw Max actually yesterday lose in the finals, try to get another token, unfortunately, for Max. They'll run it back next time. But our players are shuffling up and presenting for game number 2 here, so we're going to go down there. Lots of exciting stuff going on here on the NRG series. We are trying to bring you the most exciting and best paper Magic that we can. So click the follow button. Don't miss anything.
Click the follow, subscribe, like, comment. You know the drill. Whether you're watching on YouTube and the Twitch channel, don't forget about those Prime subs. You know, I heard a lot of people talking about the ads earlier. And Mason, there is a very, very easy way to get rid of those ads, and that is with a lovely, lovely Twitch Prime sub. Twitch Prime does help support the stream. And then, removes the ads for you, and it's free if you have Amazon. You probably had Amazon Prime. You just throw it somewhere. Hey, listen, it doesn't even have to be us. It doesn't have to be Devin. It doesn't have to be me. Just put it somewhere. Don't waste the money. As we are going to see a Relentless Reef as turn 1 for Yang and a pass of the turn into a Restless Anchorage from Tim Hatch. These creature lands starting things off into Darkslick Shores into Rona for Yang. Yeah, Rona is, definitely Yang wants to kind of get the party started a little bit early with the looters, because the looters can help you, like we said, just kind of loot into finding the combo pieces. We talked about Yang's deck really trying to set up A plus B, and the looters are very, very good at doing that. So, and then, here's the Denic from Tim as well. That is the card that gave Yang a lot of problems in the last game, shutting off cards like Cruelty of Gix and so on and so forth. Yep. We are going to loot. There is Denic in play. We have a Kaito. Looks like we're going to play the Kaito. Yang has loved making the Ninja so far. We're going to see if that continues, and it does. It's going to phase out now, so it can't be attacked. Yeah, it seems pretty easy to just make almost always make the Ninja on the first activation, because you know that your Kaito's not going to die this turn anyways. You can always just get the loot next turn. And as we talked about with Reenact the Crime needing specific timing windows, you don't really want to loot this turn and discard your big thing this turn. You want to try to wait until the turn that you're going for Reenact the Crime. Fair. So we're going to see a Denic attack in. Love this attack. Yang's like, 2-3 versus 1-3. But I mean, it's a free attack from Tim. Tim just wants to gain the life. Maybe there's something that Tim could have. Decks are face up. I wonder if there's anything Tim could have. Ganjo? Yeah, I guess that's fair. Yep. That is the one he is bluffing. And this is interesting. Fanchen Yang immediately attacks the Ninja. We've seen him debate in a lot of spots about looting or not. Just seems to be like, hey, Tim has all this man up. I don't want to do anything. So I get this card immediately. And the Fairy Master on the board. That's going to let him draw as well. And worth noting, Fanchen had the cut down in hand. We could have fought over the Mastermind, but I think we want to fight over this Denic instead. So pretty disciplined play there for Fanchen to allow Tim to have a card in exchange for fighting over the cards he preferred to battle over. Love it. Absolutely love it. You recognize that Denic is the card that you need to try and worry about. Now, there is a bit of risk involved in that play, because you're giving Tim more cards at trying to find a counterspell. And if you make the game only about Denic, then you could run yourself into a problem where, if you fight over the Denic and Tim just has a counterspell for your reanimation anyways, then what did you really accomplish by fighting over the Denic? Great point. As we do see the cut down here on the Denic at the end of turn. And I see a Rona activation now that we know the Denic is dead. Jace the Perfected Mind was the draw and discard Underground River. Untap. Yeah, we weren't sure whether or not the Jaces were going to stay in or come out. Confirmation, at least one of them's in there. Oh, yep. Mason, I see a Breach, and I think I saw a Reenact the Crime. And what I talked about game one is really going to come up here, because Yang just says go, right? Because you have the loot, the Reenact, and the Breach all at instant speed. And here we go. Tim's going to tap out. Oh, my goodness. And Fanchen Yang's going to discard Breach the Multiverse, cast Reenact the Crime with that on the stack, and you see the players in the background looking in the sky as Tim also is like, uh-oh, did I mess up here? Mess up's a strong word, but we are going to Breach the Multiverse, Tim. Mill those 10 cards, and let's see what Fanchen Yang gets. We get a card from both players' graveyards. I don't know about you, Mason, but I just sat up in my chair after that one.
I am leaning in, excited to see exactly what happens here.
All right, what do we got? Rafine.
There's an Etali. Fanchen flick to the front. That's going to get even more cards for us. And
okay, Rafine Etali.
Looks like we have a... Yeah, just going to go with Rafine. And to Atraxa and to go for the throat, your fairy. Pick him up, Dad. Pick him up. It's a long drive home for everybody. Papa's got to watch True Detective Night Country. Pick him up.
Oh, man. I might have yelled into the microphone a little bit. My apologies. I couldn't help myself, though.
It's understandable. As we are going to resolve this Atraxa trigger, Tim is just smiling and laughing, and I'd be smiling and laughing as I picked up my cards, but respect, the game is going to keep going. As we are going to see this top here, we're going to see another Breach as a potential option. We're going to take a cut down. We're going to take a Virtue Resistance. We're going to take a land.
I really want to know if Tim had a counterspell in his hand and just just chose to cast the Tidebinder. There is a No More Lies. He did have it. Oh my god. Oh, that's so tough.
Yeah, and this is the power of Fanchen Yang's deck. We can sort of, we stabilize. We put Tim in an awkward position. Tim didn't have a lot of pressure. And it was just going to be like, okay, am I really going to sit here and not do anything and let him sculpt, make those land drops? And we got to reenact the crime out of nowhere. And while, yes, we kind of did high roll with Etali into Atraxa, that's what it kind of does. And having things like Atraxa just been hit in the first place might have been game in and of itself. Even the Etali just hit, like another Rona. Would it really have been that different? Probably not, all things considered, as these players seem to not be changing their sideboard and they just started shuffling for game 3. So we're going to have that right away for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, that might be one of these things where Tim just, like you said, the inexperience of Tim never playing against a deck like this before, maybe, it is aware of the cards, like he knows that the cards exist in Yang's deck, knows what the cards do, but maybe just didn't even realize that was a possibility. And, even in that situation where Breach, like, let's say the low end where Breach hits, like, I don't know, a Rafine and a Conspiracy Unraveler, like, that's still probably good enough, right?
Yeah, that is just so much power put into play there. And it sets up so much, right? Like, that's kind of the whole joke, right? It's Conspiracy Unraveler plus Breach basically means you get to cast another card for free. And they can really sort of pop off from that position. And, Tim's going to have some respect now. Like, okay, yeah, game 1, I didn't really understand maybe exactly what you could do, but I've seen a taste of it now. And, I didn't realize how much respect for your game you had.
Yeah, you think Tim is ever going to tap out for the rest of his life after that game? No.
Probably not. That one is going to stick with Tim for a while, as we are going to see the players draw up here for game number 3. Devin, am I going to see the stream go live tomorrow with Real in parentheses and then Dimir Reanimator?
Well, I'm going to call it, I think Chat came up with Cocoa Puffs earlier, which I kind of like, so maybe I'll call it Cocoa Puffs.
All right, Undercity Sewers Surveil. I'm very disappointed in chat trying to break. Oh, Atraxa hit the yard. I'm very disappointed in chat just not letting the serial thing go. It's been 20 years plus.
I mean, in chat's defense, we did ask them earlier about serial, so they were just responding to our question.
Don't you rope me in with this. You asked them about serial. You're the one who's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. As we are going to see Ardevale's Fealty get cast here at the end of turn.
I'll bring up the tape. Don't worry. I'll clip it. If you want me to ship it, I will clip it.
So, I don't normally do this, Tim. We gotta stop putting our adventure zone behind the deck. It's got
that is kind of weird, right?
We gotta change it. I don't normally do it. I saw him do it one time. I thought he was just in the zone. I watched him do it on purpose this time. It's gotta change.
We gotta have a talk.
We gotta have a talk.
Tim, if you're watching this, we gotta have a conversation.
We're not mad. We're not disappointed. We're just curious.
It's just weird.
Yeah. And not like we're trying to shame you away, as we are going to see a Restless Reef enter the battlefield tapped here. And the passing of the turn, you see Yang doesn't want to walk into anything like Fairy Mastermind. Also wants to be able to block this 2/2 Knight.
You see, Tim here is just so mortified at what happened last game. He's just never going to cast a spell this entire game. Yeah. He's just having these flashbacks, He's like, I'm just not casting spells. It's fine.
And that is like a serious, boost here to the Dimir Cocoa Puff deck. So he just doesn't hit the same.
Yes.
Doesn't hit the same. I tried. I want Papa Cedric to be proud of me. He's not. And we're going to move on with our life, as we are going to see a land and a passing of the turn.
Cedric would just say Dimir Reanimator, right? At least we're calling it Dimir Ramp. Well, what do you think Cedric would be happier with, Dimir Reanimator or Dimir Ramp?
Reanimator, not close. The deck doesn't ramp. Negate is going to go on Reenact the Crime. Sorry, my mask came off for a second. That's on me. But hey, we guys fixed on Melee. It says Reanimator now. Reanimate, it's all good.
And notably, that was end phase. So, got Tim to tap a little bit of mana. Does still have, some mana available to have potentially a second counter spell. I don't even know if Yang has another way to go for it. I think that was their only reanimation spell. I see no other reenacts or no cruelties or anything like that.
Yeah, I like it from Tim too, just to kind of go for it. I mean, like, listen, nothing's really happening. You clearly have a bunch of answers. I'm going to have to work them at some point, so I'd rather do it now and prevent you from doing something like, flashing in a Tidebinder or something else if I draw very well. And we're going to see the block from Yang. Does have Urtai up in hand as well. That could stop something like the Virtue if it comes down, not that Tim would ever tap out. After what happened.
Wait a minute, Mason. I have a revelation for you. I don't know if you noticed this, but I swear to God, earlier the deck list on Melee said Dimir ramp. I think Brad might have changed it after we said something because he literally changed it to Reanimator. Oh, okay. I didn't even realize. I missed the joke.
Yeah, that's why I was like, thank you, Brad. And on my side, it says Reanimator. He's in there in the streets watching. Brad loves Standard. He loves to innovate on Standard and on Standard deck list names, as we are going to see Yang cut down in response to that. Now the Wandering Emperor is at 4 loyalty, and we're going to get a little looting going on. And it looks like we have Kaito in hand.
W's in chat for Brad. Just W's all around. All right, Kaito's going to untap the Rona. Let's see. Fire Shoes is saying he changed it, so.
Oh, interesting.
I guess it wasn't Brad. Well, W for Fire Shoes, anyways.
Always a W for Fire Shoes. You think Brad's going to be happy when he learns that I messed up my registration again? He's going to have to help me. Anyways, we have a Ninja in play as Rona is thinking about maybe attacking this Wandering Emperor. It's a tough spot to be because you want to keep looting and building up your evidence, for that Unraveler and various other things, but you don't want the Wandering Emperor to get too big. You're going to make a Samurai.
Don't forget about that Virtue. I know it doesn't look like it's, in an adventure. It looks like it might be an exile. It's like halfway between exile and the graveyard. Who knows? But that is on an adventure.
Yep. Looks like Tim is lined up 5 mana plus counter magic with the old 5 and 2 here. He has a Disdainful Stroke in hand, I believe.
Is that what that blue card is?
I believe so.
Kind of makes sense. Tough to tell. There's like that card has so many different new arts. I know what the old school one looks like, and I know what the retro one looks like, but there's 3 other ones that it could be because that's got reprinted a couple times recently.
Yup. It's weird. Weird world we're living in.
Got a Deluge. Interesting to see those come in. I guess it kind of makes sense because Deluge kills Denick, and that is a card that you really have to fight over.
It's true. As Undercity Sewer comes in, I think Deluge, it makes a ton of sense when you think about that and the wedding announcements too, and the samurais we're seeing.
Yeah, we kind of saw this sort of on display with the last time that we watched Yang, where you're kind of just transforming into this Dimir midrange deck, right? You have the Kaito going, drawing a couple extra cards, Rona's filtering your cards every turn, and Yang is making all of the land drops and is eventually just going to be able to start hardcasting Conspiracy Unravelers and Breaches.
Yep. And we're seeing here from Tim sort of the trouble with it all is that Tim can never really tap out until he's forced to or can smell blood in the water, right? He kind of has to leave up No More Lies, and it's 7 mana, but it's not impossible for Yang to get up to 4 mana for Reenact the Crime and 3 for the No More Lies. So you need to have cards like Stroke, and then he's going to bait you with cards like this that you're going to have to fight over.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about getting to 7 mana for hardcasting Breach or Conspiracy Unraveler. We're basically there next turn, right? Yang's got 6 lands in play.
Yep. And now Yang is either going to be very happy long-term or very sad about that Disdainful Stroke fighting over that Urtai. Looks like we hit a Virtue of our own.
A Terror Tide's going to hit the graveyard. That one not looking super hot on this board. I mean, it makes sense to bring it in because, Tim can kind of go wide with Denick and a bunch of wedding announcement tokens, but no necessary here. Now, I think Yang has a choice of 3 7-drops in hand. I think we have Virtue, Raveler, and Breach. So, I roll a die and pick one. I don't know.
I kind of like using Loftwing Sworn here as the adventure mode.
okay. Well, I guess we're not casting a 7-drop. Never mind.
Yeah. And then we can cast our Jace with completeness as well to draw some cards. We've got to be close to 20 cards in the graveyard, right? Now look at that. That adventure's over there on its little zone.
the actual adventure zone.
Yeah.
Not the Tim Hatch adventure zone.
No, Tim Hatch is just like, Kong versus Godzilla into the other world adventure zone. It's just a little different.
Yeah.
As we do see, Jace is going to get cast. It's going to untap the Rona. It looks like we're going to spend the full mana, so Jace is going to enter with 5 loyalty counters. If we fight over this Jace, we won't be drawing cards, but Fanchen Yang will be able to -2 and draw some cards. It looks like we're going to cycle in response.
I mean, this is exactly what you said. You're just making Tim fight over everything that's not your 7-drops. And this is like basically, this is perfect. I mean, Yang is almost ahead on board, right? You have like the Rona, the 1/1 versus the Emperor on 1, so it's kind of a wash there. Yang has more mana, and Yang just has 3 7-drops left over after you've already burned through 3 counter spells from Tim.
Yep. This is a good place to be, and we still have things like the Restless Reef in the zone as well. So Deep Counter Bet comes down.
It's like, which 7-drop do you want, Tim?
And you're seeing Tim go,
You see Tim like,
I do not have the cards for this one, is what Tim is thinking. You probably have to take Breach the Multiverse.
I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah, tough spot to be on that one.
You could tell Tim's not happy about that one.
You have Dinnick, that will stop the Virtue. You can tick up on your Samurai to make it a 3/4 as well. That will stop another Lochthwain Scorn, from killing the Dinnick. Devin, I bet you didn't know that I knew all the Virtue's little names.
Well, I knew the black one because I played with that one a little bit. As we talked about earlier, I didn't know the white one. The other 3, I could care less. Because I assume they're all unplayable, but
I don't know. But anyways, I think they're pretty bad too. As we are going to see some evidence collection here, we're going to put this Virtue into play. Tim's going to look. Has a Destroy Evil in hand. Is going to get the Evidence Unraveler. And I kind of like this from Tim. He's kind of putting all of his hopes and dreams on the Dinnick here. A little surprised to see the land there from Fanchen Yang. That might be a sign that maybe we're really close to activating both creature lands.
Yeah, because could have kept that in hand to discard a Rona. Interesting.
Yeah. This might be a spot too where Fanchen might be wanting to transform Rona and activate the land next turn and attack for 9. Obviously, this Dinnick is a lifelinker, so it's going to be a little hard, but not impossible. And Fanchen has to know that if we draw something like Breach off the top, we're going to be able to slam that card immediately.
Yeah, or even just a removal spell, right? I guess taking a look at the removal spells in Yang's deck, there's the Virtues, which don't touch the Dinnick. There's sideboard, the Cutdowns don't touch the Dinnick, and the Deluges also don't touch the Dinnick. So the only thing we really have at this point left is the Terror Tides.
And the Liliana minus, which is a dubious plan, I think.
It's the Urtai, but there's only one Urtai. We've already seen that this game, so.
Here comes the Virtue. We're going to grow. We're going to grow the bat, get it out of cut down range as well. Get some extra damage in. Very surprised to see that land come down from Fanchen Yang on the last turn.
Yeah, very, very interesting. So that would give us, we tapped out for the 7-drop, right? So we had 7 mana, that was our 8th mana. Mana number 9 still doesn't even let us animate 2 lands, right? Because we need 10.
Yeah. So got something in mind, though. Knows this deck a lot better than I do, so we do see the Restless Reef get activated. That is a death-touching shark, Devin. So that is going to allow us to fight here. And I think we drew another one in hand. So, Tim, we're going to mill for it. I wonder who we're going to mill. Probably ourselves, right?
Yeah, I would assume ourselves. Give us more targets for the Virtue if we can find an answer for the Dinnick at some point.
I bet you Fanchen would kill to have Cling to Dust in his deck. Just one.
Oh boy, don't even get me started.
We're going to see another Reef come down, and
Yeah, so interesting. So I guess last turn it wasn't clear whether you're supposed to play the land, but because she played the land last turn, it kind of makes sense to play the land this turn, especially because it's that second reef.
Yeah. There's a lot of lifelink going on here from Fanchen. I wonder if there's... I guess you just can't ever block with your Rona right now, huh? Because of the Reenact the Crime off the top. You need to just, like, hope to get lucky. Oh, but I guess
Reenact is offline because the Denic.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, maybe the plan is just to transform the Rona. I don't know. We have to see how it goes here.
I mean, honestly, the card that Yang is looking for is Breach, right? That's the top deck.
Yeah, Breach, I think, is our best and maybe only out at this point.
No, the Rona not going to do it, so we're going to go ahead and see if we can find something good. Some Mirex?
Not quite what the doctor wants.
Or, no, it was a Shipwreck Marsh. So, okay, that was kind of weird, right? So, you played land 8, wasn't sure if that was right. Then, or you played, that was land 9. Then you played the other reef as land 10, or land 9, and then we discarded land 10 to animate both reefs instead of discarding the extra Rona. That confuses me.
Yeah, might just be a moment of shifting priorities from Yang, but it might also just be, long day, playing a little quick. Yeah, we're hungry. And Tim Hatch here seems to be on the precipice of being in the finals. Now, I wonder if Tim knows if that land has Death Touch or not, because if the Dinic gets into combat, it could be disastrous for him.
Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, well, Tim's only going to attack with the bat, so maybe he is aware of that.
How many Otawaras is Yang playing? We have one in play already, unfortunately.
Yep, just the one.
Tough.
I think it kind of has to be Breach at this point. It's a Cruelty. Yeah, it's not good enough because of the Denic.
Well, Cruelty lets you search your deck, right? So you can find the Wrath.
Oh, Cruelty for Wrath. Clean up the board. Question, is the life total updated?
I assume it is, but I'm not positive. All I know is this. The bat hit us for 4.
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure because I thought that Yang was at 10 when we passed the Tim last turn before taking 4, but I'm not 100% positive.
Yeah, and you see Tim here have to shine his Tidebiter. You're trying to figure out, should I stop this trigger? I think you're supposed to, Tim. And Yang's going to search his deck. Tim might also have a card like No More Lies. It was going to have a great grip. Great look at his grip, excuse me. So it looks like maybe we've milled the card, / we're just double checking.
Well, I know we went through one Terror Tide earlier.
And it's definitely possible with the amount of looting and Restless Reefing that we got rid of the Terror Tide.
Yeah, Yang had thumbed to Reenact the Crime to the front, but I don't know about that one.
Yeah, it looks like we're maybe looking at Jace, Lockflame, Sworn. I think we're just thinking about everything we could possibly grab here. Liliana. I think there's an Anchorage in play for Tim. I could be mistaken. That might be last game. Yeah, Gang's just going to concede. Congratulations to Tim Hatch there for winning our semifinals. And congratulations to Fanchen Yang there for losing in our semis. It was a great run with a very awesome and innovative deck. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of that deck on Magic Online and Magic Arena. It's going to be very popular. We are going to come back here for a second as we set up our backup feature match with Domain Control versus Azorius Control. But Devin, what did you think of that match?
That was pretty sweet. I mean, we got to see the Dimir Reanimator deck do its thing. There was that, we kept talking about the instant speedness of Reenact the Crime, and it was really awesome that's how the game ended in game 2, that actually came up. Instant speed really, kind of puts your opponent in the spot where they just can't ever afford to tap out. It was a really cool showing for, Yang. Congratulations on making the top 4. Condolences. But yeah, it was a really, really well fought battle.
It really was. And let's see if we can jump on down to our backup feature match. I am unsure the current game status. We'll have that updated. So let's go. We're in game number 3. So that's a good sign for everything.
Game 3. I'm actually kind of surprised. I figured they would still be in game 1, Mason.
Yeah, I think my guess is what happened is that the Domain Control deck probably just won game 1 because it does have all the threats and probably just excuse me, was able to run over Sean with a fast start, maybe like a mulligan, And then, game 2, Sean was able to tie things up with the sideboard. Because thinking about it before, it's like, how is Sean actually supposed to beat this deck, right? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense that his deck could do anything. But when you look at his sideboard, he has a bunch of Tidebinders, a bunch of negates, a bunch of strokes. So I think he's just kind of, bringing in 6-7 cards for this matchup and hoping it's good enough. And it looks like it was. We'll get an idea of actually who won that game by who plays the first land here. Sean Gallagher with the clean 6 pickup and a 7th one as a treat. Do you like his shirt, the Fast and the Nefarious? Because he plays Teferi. And yeah, it looks like
next.
All right, it looks like I was wrong. It was backwards. Sean won game 1 as he is on the play here, which means he lost game number 2.
All right, so going into game 3, let's take a look at the side. I'm just going to kind of rattle off some quick sideboard hits here. So Domain has 3 negates, 2 Destroy Evils, 2 Jaces. Those are probably all coming in. A couple of Tishana's Tidebinders, bunch of Dead Wraths in the main deck. Makes a lot of sense. And then Sean has 2 Tidebinder, 2 Negate, 2 Disdainful Stroke, and a Chrome Host Seed Shark going to cut a lot of his Wraths. So that's kind of just to give you an idea of how these players are sideboarding.
I love it. And while you're doing that, Up the Beanstalk got cast, got negated by Gallagher. It does look like we're taking a little think here on turn number 4. I think we have like an Archangel of Wrath in hand and a Jace. I might be mistaken on the Archangel there, but definitely a Topiary Stomper. I think we're figuring out exactly what we're going to play this turn. As it looks like Stomper is going to go into the slaughter, as it were. And Gallagher is going to allow him. We're going to pull up a basic land, and looks like that's because Gallagher had a Memory Deluge. How important is that card in this matchup?
Pretty important. I mean, just Memory Deluge is one of your better turn 4 plays from the Azorius deck, just allowing you to kind of sculpt your hand, figure out exactly which cards you need, counter spells if you need that, and maybe a Wandering Emperor, a threat if you need that, something along those lines. Probably the most important thing to kind of keep an eye on is whether or not the Domain player can find Cavern of Souls. Because that is, you kind of think about traditional ramp versus counterspell or ramp versus control, and it usually comes down to whether or not the control deck can draw enough counterspells for the threats. Well, if Cavern of Souls hits the battlefield, that means Atraxa cannot be countered, which means that you then need to be able to have, 3 or 4 more answers for whatever the Atraxa is finding. As of right now, Chimiki does not have that Cavern in play, but, there are 4 in the deck.
Yep. Looks like Gallagher got a Negate and a Gonjo off of that Memory Deluge. We do have a Restless Anchorage among the lands.
Are you sure? It's really hard to tell. There's a lot of glare on Sean's lands.
I can tell. I got it. It's the middle one on the column closest to us. That's my guess.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I'm confident. What can I say? As Invasion of Zendikar comes down.
Yeah, and we were talking about this earlier. Masai actually has Case of the Locked Hothouse in this deck list. This is a new card, and I don't know if we can get it up on the screen for you guys, but it's kind of a ramp spell, kind of a little bit more. What do you think about this card, Mason?
Yeah, it's one of those cards that I think lets you sort of power through your deck a little bit once you get it solved. And it's a very interesting thing because sometimes these decks, Domain is a control deck at the end of the day, right? Like Domain Ramp and Domain Control are basically the same deck. And so having some way to kind of make sure you don't get flooded out on lands is a good thing for decks like this. So Case of the Lockout House lets you do that. I think is a really strong addition to this deck as a one-of, and something we've seen be very powerful and limited.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I just haven't seen it be played too much, so I kind of wasn't 100% sure on how good it was. Wasn't sure, the deck does have 26 lands, but it's like turn 4, turn 5. A lot of your extra lands are coming from the Topiary Stomper, so you might not always have an extra land to play off of the Case. As we see a Jace going to resolve here, and then Sean is going to, I think it's a Tidebinder to Jace, and we're just going to go ahead and finish it off.
Yep. Good lineup events there from Gallagher. Fighting over the mana, not letting any sort of value occur, and just trying to push the advantage here. And I think we have 7 mana, which means we are going to Memory Deluge here at end of turn. Look at that top 7. If we don't have any responses, but it looks like we might have the Wandering Emperor on a little minus situation. I love this addition of the Wandering Emperor to this deck. Lets you fight a little bit more over the aggressive decks and gives you powerful cards against these control decks, which sometimes you can be lacking.
Yeah, 0 copies of that card in the main deck and 1 single copy in the sideboard, but a very cool one of to play. Gives you a lot of flexibility. Here being able to answer Sean's threat. If Sean had nothing in play, you could just make your own threat and be able to. Looks like okay, we're just gonna. Oh, we're shuffling the Deluge pile. Sure, that's fine.
Yep.
Deluge, unlike Ranger Knight or Knight Errant of Eos, does not shuffle the whole library. So
another Restless Anchorage hits the battlefield in the pass of the turn. Gallagher is someone who really appreciates and really loves these blue-white control deck lists. We saw it yesterday in Pioneer. We saw Gallagher lose in the finals of a NRG Showdown to Daniel Weissman, eventual winner of the RC Atlanta, and just loves these decks. As we do see Topiary Stomper come down.
Yeah, and we're going to go ahead and just fire that one off. That's going to be a Disruption Protocol countering the Topiary Stomper. Emperor is going to go ahead and tick up. So interesting, Sean fighting over the mana there and gets rewarded in kind. I don't think that Masai played a land that turn, I believe.
Yeah, Masai missed a land 5 a few turns ago and hit land 5. Land 4. I forget what it's earlier, and then hit land 5 here. So we're going to see Restless Anchorage get activated. Anchorage, nice. It lines up really well against Leyline Binding, which is a lot of the removal here from Masai. As we already dig in that map. Yeah, it looks like we're going to pop that map on the Anchorage as we hit another Disruptive Protocol.
Counterspell on top. Definitely wants to see that. At least wants to see counterspells until there's a Cavern of Souls. As we see in Atraxa picked up here for Masai, and we see the typical ramp problem, right? If your ramp spells get fought over and you draw too many of the 5 and 6 drops and 7 drops, then you're just not going to be able to cast them. And you're giving the blue-white control deck a lot of time to find the answers that they need to be able to power through them. And that's exactly what's going on here.
Yep. We are going to see Archangel of Wrath hit the battlefield. It is going to get losted, and we're going to have a third map over here get added.
So yeah, interesting decision for Masai there. Could have paid the extra mana to deal Sean 2, but chose to sacrifice a map instead because really needs to hit land drops, and Sean did have the second get lost to be able to answer that Archangel of Wrath.
We are going to be attacking with the Restless Anchorage here for 3 now, thanks to the map from earlier.
Yeah, and if you're in Sean's position, this is exactly how you want this game to go. Masai, stumbling a little bit, missing some land drops, that's able to find, I think that was a basic mountain. So land 6 here, but, still land 6, not able to deploy the Atraxas in hand. Besides the Atraxas, I think I noted a binding. I can't quite get a good look at the rest of it.
So it is those Atraxas you talked about, and then just 2 bindings, one at the front, one at the back there. And that is why it's being so awkward on this Restless Anchorage. And Gallagher fighting over that mana means that cards like Atraxa can't come down, and that gives us time to use things like these Memory Deluges. And then now we're going to start holding back. Something's changed. I imagine it is the Deluge, but looks like Gallagher
Emperor?
Flashing in the Emperor, gonna make a Samurai, and finally a target for our Leyline Binding.
Target acquired.
It's interesting.
Sean, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's interesting for Sean. Devin, do you think you'd fight over this Leyline Binding, and we have a card like Get Lost? Would you use it to get back the Emperor again?
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. I don't think that Sean wants to fight over this because I think you care more about the 7 drops than you do keeping your Emperor in play. 7 drops being Herd Migration, Atraxa, things of that nature. I think those are more impactful if they hit the battlefield the following turn. And from my count, I think I saw a negate and the gate in the Disruption Protocol that we know about. But past those 2 counter spells, I don't think Sean is super heavy on counters past that.
Yeah, I think Sean is a little light. Got Negate, got Disdainful Stroke. Little promo version there with the fraud out blue-white deck. Got a Field of Ruin for the turn. Ironically, against the 5-color deck, not the best. You would think it'd be really good there. The deck just plays a bunch of basics thanks to cards like Invasion, as we are going to see Atraxa Grand Unifier hit the battlefield. Doesn't look like there's a Cavern of Souls, so Disdainful Stroke is going to tag that. Sean going to flash back Memory Deluge from the graveyard. Such a powerful card. We have seen this be one of the staples of blue-white control for the last couple of years, and even poking into other formats like Modern.
Yeah, it's going to go ahead and, I mean, you have to imagine probably found at least one counterspell off of that. Looking at 7, you're pretty likely to find at least one. And we do know about that Disruption Protocol still available for Sean that was revealed off of the map token a couple turns back. And maybe we're going back to the well here with this Restless Anchorage. Just try to, chip a couple ship shots one at a time. We're going to go ahead and sack the map as well. It's going to pick up a land of sorts.
Yeah, one nice thing about this, as we are attacking Massey down to 16, is that the Field of Ruin we talked about earlier not being the best, it will turn off Cavernous Souls after it gets its first cast, which is going to be very important as the game goes along. So it's a card where Sean not very happy right now to have it, but long term is going to be pretty happy to see that one in the mana base. As we are going to see a little retapping going on. Looks like we might be trying to play Topiary Stomper. Try and bait out a counterspell here from Sean. Looks like Sean's cool with it.
Yeah, Sean doesn't really care about that. I mean, at 20, even you can just take 3 or 4 hits from that thing and not even worry too much about it.
Yeah, you are probably likely to win the race currently, given everything. And if worse comes to worse, you have cards like Get Lost that you can always finish off those stompers.
And what we've got here, Binding is going to the graveyard. That probably don't want that from the map token. Really just wants to try and find. I mean, honestly, the Messiah's best card here to find is Cavern of Souls. Picked up a land. I think it might have been a Triumph of some sort. Oh, it was Plains. Okay.
Plains like a Triumph, both tap for mana.
They do. One comes into play on tap though.
True. So we're going to hit another Plains there. Secret Lair.
Yep.
Shibuya edition. Do you have a Beseiju in hand, which is actually pretty huge.
Another Deluge.
And we're seeing this kind of go here as Sean does have to randomize the 2 cards. When Sean here, just one Deluge finds the next Deluge, and it kind of just like it ends up being the sort of weird chain that we saw with cards like Dig 2 time before. Sometimes you're just like, oh, I'll dig for a dig plus another card, and I'll figure out what exactly I need later.
Sean is just in his element right now. This is thriving, moisturized, well-equipped. Sean's just chilling over here. He's got all day.
Yeah, this Boseiju is going to end up being a problem currently for Sean's win condition. Sean does need to get the game over. Like, as time goes on, things get worse and worse, I think, for him, up until a certain point where they get really good. There's kind of like this weird window where he's kind of not super happy to be in this spot, and then, okay, we've reached the super late game. I'm good again. I'm going to deck you. Don't worry about it. Jace minus. So, looks like Stomper does attack in 4-5, dropping Sean down to 15. Looks like we're figuring out how exactly to tap our mana. This might be Atraxa finally coming down. It is Atraxa.
Yeah, and Masai had a couple of looks at trying to find a cavern, and he's like, you know what? At this point, whatever. I'm just gonna try. I gotta fight through this counter magic at some point, right?
Yep. And you've got to kind of force Gallagher to use it if you're gonna keep the game going, because it might be more likely that you're gonna win something like Herd Migration at this point. Gets answered there with the stroke. We're going to flash back the Memory Deluge.
All I'll say right now is, Masai, I feel your pain. Head in hand, this is exactly how I feel every Twitch stream when I play against Blue-White Control. So, I feel you, buddy. I'm with you.
Gallagher trying to find some threats here to close the door. Looks like we have March.
If you think about it, Mason, the Blue-White Control players are the bad guys.
Hit me with that theory while we untap for turn here.
I don't have any logic past it. They're just the bad guys.
This is the vibe check, and they failed it. So we're going to see another Field of Ruin get played. We're going to cast a card that honestly I have. Oh, it's Cryptic Coat. I think.
Ooh, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah,
No, it doesn't track.
Oh, we don't have one in the
no
deck
Cryptic
list?
Coats in Sean's deck list.
Oh, that's Chrome Host Seed Shark.
That is a one-up. That would make a lot of sense.
What if it was Cryptic Coat?
Well, if it was Cryptic Coat, we'd have a problem. So
it'd be really good here. Is all I'm saying. Is we do see the Archangel into the battlefield. I'm sorry, it's getting cast here. We'll see if it does ultimately end up entering Disruptive Protocol in hand here for Sean. And there's an interesting moment too of, do we care about this Chrome Host Seed Shark?
Kind of, yeah, right?
Yeah,
I would assume so.
I mean, we got to start winning at some point, and we've used like 3 Deluges, so we're going to eventually, the deck doesn't have a ton of card selection outside Deluge. Deluge is just a lot of it. We have Deduce to move through our deck a little bit instead of cards like Quick Study. And
interesting.
Oh, I love this. The Wandering Emperor comes down. We're going to incubate for 4, and we're going to plus on the Chrome Host Seed Shark. It's now a 3/5. Gallagher set that up beautifully. It was like, yeah, you're going to kick it, right? And the guy's like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I was like, cool. All right, I'm going to have a 4/4 and a 3/5 now.
3/5 with 4 damage on it. That is kind of a beating.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Deduce? What Deduce?
I think it's Deduce, which is going to end up with a Incubate of 2. Think Twice kind of is the modern version of it, but notably Think Twice would have triggered the Shark again. This does not, but you do get those clue synergies, and we see that Sean has stuff like Disruptive Protocol, which in the early game gives him, essentially Counterspell.
Yeah, notably, just like you said, strictly worse than Think Twice in this particular instance.
Yep.
And I'm using the term strictly loosely, but not that loosely.
As it does look like Sean's going to March of the Worldly Light for X is 4. That's going to give us a 5/5 Incubate token as well. And I'm curious to see if Sean's going to load the shields here a little bit to start battling.
Mason, I'm disappointed. I wanted to see Sean do Overmarch. Now, obviously, you would still want to hold up the counterspell, but I just want to see March for 12 on a 4-drop just to get a 12 incubator token. Just do it for Twitch.
Do it for the chat. As we are going to attack in here for 8 with Incubate and the Shark, and we're going to have a passing of the turn. And it is looking rough here for the Domain deck. Just early on in the game was not able to keep up the pressure. Sean had too much time to set up and has not found one of the 4 Cavernous Souls in the deck here, which are pretty big in this matchup. Had we got these Atraxas, even if they got instantly killed, it would have been big, as we do see this Atraxa get tapped for. And Sean has Disruptive Protocol and able to tap that Artifact Incubate token.
Fancy.
Yep. Get it. Now we have mana up.
See. Oh, Counterspell? It's almost... surely Sean will have nothing in his 17-card hand.
As we are going to see Sean cast into Sean a Tidebinder on the Atraxa. So now it's a 7/7. And you see, he's like, I won the war over the Atraxa. How could this be? Sean untapping, not even lowering the shields to incubate the other tokens. We're just going to have a bunch of Shark power.
Pretty surprised. Honestly, Mason, I'm pretty surprised that Sean had another thing in his hand. I'm actually pretty surprised.
I mean, he did only have 2 cards in hand, so it wasn't, that. Oh, no, never mind. He has a lot more.
He had
cards
7.
I
had 7 cards in his hand the whole game.
Well, we're going to march for 8. And that is going to give us an incubate. Sorry, March 1st, going to give us an incubate of 8. And
just tell me it's over.
I mean, I think if we attack with everything, it should be over. The question is, do you play around a card like Leyline Binding?
No.
Now as we attack your patrol, which is exactly lethal, we don't need to overactivate. We are going to see a Boseiju on that incubate token. That's going to keep us alive for one more draw step.
No, Messiah, it's fine. You could just go. You can leave. You don't have to take a draw step. You could just go.
Call of the Herd is I'm sorry, Herd Migration. I call the Herd every time. Herd Migration, not going to be good enough, though, to stable STS, as we are going to see a concession here. And congratulations to Sean Gallagher. Moving on to our finals, we're going to see Tim versus Sean in just a minute. We're going to take a quick break and set our players up, and we'll be back in just about 2 minutes. Click that follow button that we don't miss any of the future action. And we're back in a minute, crown our champion, and see who's going to join us at the end of the year for our 30K PTQ. See you soon.